did a poll the other day on Instagram asking which tune you want to hear us go through the most. A lot of you said like some of the unreleased stuff and probably more complex projects. But I will go over them at some point after they've been released, but obviously I can't now for obvious reasons. But so yeah, I'm gonna do Caress Me for now, which a lot of you also asked for. So as you can see, the project's quite simple. It's a very straight ahead project as well. I've actually ended up making the full thing in 45 minutes, including the master, which is an absolute stupid master, but it's the one you hear on the final release. But I made it in 45 minutes. I think I ended up finishing it because I put a 8-bar loop of it on like Instagram or something. And one of my mates who was living in Ibiza at the time messages and asked us to finish it so he could play it in this like bar on the West End or something. But I'm so glad I did as well. So yeah, like I said, you can see how simple of a project it is. There's really not much going on, so I hope there is something you can take from it, maybe some plugins or maybe some techniques. But I will start off the drums. Sorry, I muted my voice there. So the drums are really straight ahead. This is them. I don't know why that's there. Not really any groove on them or anything or swing. I think the only thing that's off the grid is this little snare. That was moved slightly off, but except from that, everything's straight ahead and bang on the grid. There's not really any processing except from taking out the, well there is because of the Decapitator, that's a class plugin. But except from taking out the lows and boosting a few bits here and there's nothing really going on. But there's this plugin called Decapitator that I use on, I think I've used on, for the past 2 years, I've used on every drum group I've made. If you've never heard this plugin, it's by Sound Toys, and it's basically what it is it's a like an emulator of like some old saturation hardware, and each of these is like a different unit of different saturation unit. I can't remember which ones they are, but it is, and that all seem to be on this setting, so it works for me. So what it basically does in this track is it gives it that raw, crispy sound, whatever you want to call it. I'm shit with words. So but it basically brings my drum to the front of the mix, and especially when it's getting drowned out by everything else, because it's weirdly quite a full track for how much is not going on. So that's it with it off, and that's it with it on. And over the, like, especially when everything else is playing, like the bass and vocal. It is making quite a bit of a difference. So yeah, if you like the sound of what that does, it might be worth going and looking into buying it. They normally do quite a lot of sales, especially like over Easter, Christmas. If you don't want to pay the full, I think it's 150 normally, but I think I got it for 50. But that's a good plugin. But there's no processing on my kick either. So they're pretty much straight ahead, the drums. But I think that's what gives this track that sound, is like everything just being straight ahead and simple throughout. So I think we'll go on to the bass now. A few people have said like, how did I make the bass? And if you are questioning how to make this bass, it is really simple. But if you're like struggling with noises like this, it might be worth looking into like some sound design tutorials on YouTube, so you can, when you have an idea, you can make like stuff like this straight away. But it's very simple. I'll make it from scratch so you can see exactly what's happening. So I use this plugin by Diva called by UHE called Diva, and I'll just copy these notes in, sorry. So obviously the notes are, but when it comes to Diva, especially for bass noises, I always use this template called Init Mini Mono, which is just this like a initial preset, and it's set out like a bit like a sub 37 or like a Moog, really. So there's really not much going on in this sound. So what happens is in this sound, if you don't know sound design at all, is this cut off, which is the filter. It's a low pass filter. is going to get controlled by envelope 2. And that's it, analog 2, sorry, envelope 2 to digital. So basically what's happening is this is controlling the filter. I might have had a little bit of noise as well. And obviously what happens halfway through the track or a little bit into the track is the second oscillator comes up, which is 2 octaves above. Sound. I think these notes here is what confuses people and maybe makes them think it's a little bit more confusing than it actually is. Because obviously there's already a second oscillator coming up, and then the notes move up an octave as well, so it goes up like 3 octaves just before the drop, which creates the sound. I don't know what happened there, but you get a point, I think. So there's nothing really going on in the bass. There was a little bit of there wasn't any processing except from just taking down the lows a little bit and boosting the highs, which probably works just before that drop. For sidechaining, if you don't already know, I use this plugin called LFO Tool. I've done it a bit extreme here, so it gives it like that full-on EDM fucking pump and sound. And the reason I use LFO Tool is just because I find it a lot more accurate than using a compressor. I mean, if you obviously you don't want everything accurate, so maybe I would use a compressor for that. Or maybe if I was doing like a break beat and I wanted to sidechain by a kick drum, that's not every beat. But yeah. That's just for making sure that the kick's not, but in a really extreme way. But that's just for the sound of this track. I normally have it around about here, but for this track, yeah. I still hope you're learning some things, because it is a really simple project, this. So we'll go on to the vocal now. I stole the idea from DJ Flavors, who sampled the Joey Negro, the Pasha One Kiss track. I just did the same sampling he did to this vocal, but I can maybe show you this to show you how like effective sampling can be, even though it wasn't my idea to do this. But we'll go over it anyways. So like I'm all alone away. Like I'm all alone. Yada da 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 yeah. Yada da da da. One night you just heard. All I needed was your caress to last. So obviously this is the first bit. I'm not going to do it bang on because just to save time, but all I needed was your caress to last, and to feel like I'm all alone. Oh, where shall I go to be close to? Yeah, there it is. So obviously after the all I needed was your caress to be close to. All I needed was your caress to be close to your heart. So there you go. That just copied the same idea from the DJ Flavors one. I pictured. I think it was. All I needed was your caress to be close to your heart. All I need. And then I don't think there's much processing on this except from like making a wide band pass with 2 filters. All I needed was your. So just cutting out the lows and cutting off some of the highs, and then adding overdrive. All I needed was your. Again, just to bring it up to the mix a little bit more, make it a bit more that raw sound. All I needed was your. But except from that, it's not really anything. The thing that makes this track, and maybe you can take this from this track, is there's not really rules in music. Like the difference between before mastering and after the master channel is absolutely mad on this one, because I mixed into the master. Like I said, I made it in 45 minutes, so I was just making it quick. version, but it ended up giving it that sound. So with everything turned off, like that's so bad, but it's because I mixed into the master, because I think after the 8 bars I must have made this master or something. But maybe you can take, like I said, you can take this as there's no rules in music. Like the label tried to get like one of their engineers on it, and no one could really match it, because I think half this track's sound comes from the master, because it's just so fucking brick wally. So first on the master, I just cut off everything below 25 Hz, boosted the highs a little bit. Use this isotope exciter preset just to boost the lows, to give a little bit of distortion on the lows and the mids and highs. This plug tech EQ, oh sorry, chroma. I want to use this for a little bit of noise. I think. Oh, and then the plug tech EQ from the Waves bundle. I always use this on my master as well, just like how it sounds compared to the Ableton EQ. Oh, sorry, my phone. After this is just boosting 16K. Sorry, I got distracted by my phone. Boosting the highs again, quite a fucking lot. How much is that going up by? 5 decibels. But and then just the L2 on the end. It's just like such a cheap master, but it worked for me on this track, anyways. I know I've got out the habit of mixing into the master, because engineers tend to do a better job than me, obviously. But I'm sorry, and there's not really much you can take from this project, as it was so simple. But maybe it shows you that a lack of knowledge doesn't stop you from making a good idea work. But maybe next time after it's released, I can go through something like this one. So maybe I can go through something like this one next time, which is a bit more complex. Maybe go through like writing melody and chords or something. It's still not the most complex thing in the world, like, but I'll show you a little bit actually as well. But I hope it's something you've took from this. I'm sorry the track's actually so simple to make, but I'll be making more one day when I can.